So in today's video, I want to look at address something that's really close to my heart, and that's this crisis that we have in true masculinity. This being able to break free from this false narrative that we've created, because today most men are struggling, but they're not struggling because they're inherently weak or incapable, but they're struggling because they're burdened by this false narrative of masculinity, uh, this negative trance that has disconnected us men from our authentic power, our true selves. This crisis is not about men or masculinity being toxic or failing to adapt to the changing societal norms, but it's a deeper disconnection from our true selves and our purpose and the balanced roles that we have in all of our areas of life, in our relationships, in our careers, in our personal growth. And so I want to take a few minutes and explore the roots of this crisis, look at some of the symptoms of this disconnection of true masculinity, and some of the steps that we men can take to redefine and reclaim our power. You know, for years, for decades, society has shaped this narrative around what it means to be a man. This narrative often fluctuates between two extremes, from this idea of traditional dominance, the idea that masculinity is all about physical strength or emotional stoicism or dominance over others. And men that embody this version are always told to man up, or keep your emotions at bay, don't show any emotions, or to achieve this status at all costs. And then on the other extreme, we have this modern passivity, this modern response to traditional masculinity that often frames masculinity as inherently toxic. Men are encouraged to become softer, more agreeable, less assertive, to avoid conflict or to avoid offending others. And the thing is neither one of these extremes are sustainable or authentic. Instead of empowering us men, these narratives have left us disconnected from our true selves. And the signs, we see it all around us. The signs of this disconnection show itself in many areas of life, and it leaves us men sometimes feeling stuck or frustrated or unfulfilled. We see it in struggles with relationship. This disconnected masculinity many times leads to difficulties in our relationships, and many men struggle with expressing their emotions or being able to actually set boundaries, or being able to lead with confidence. And this disconnection creates this rift, whether it's in romantic partnerships or friendships or family dynamics. We see this disconnect happening, and some men tend to withdraw emotionally, afraid of being vulnerable. And then others overcompensate with control or aggression. And neither one of these foster a mutual respect and connection that healthy relationships require. And then with this disconnect, we see a lack of purpose. Purpose is the foundation of a fulfilled life. And yet so many men find themselves just wandering adrift, with the modern pressures that we face, climbing the corporate ladder, maintaining a family, navigating the societal expectations that are placed upon us, it can feel overwhelming without a clear sense of any direction. And this disconnected masculinity often strips us of our ability to connect with our inner purpose. We may feel like we're just going through the motions, living a life that's dictated by external expectations rather than being driven by internal desires. And then we see this disconnection from true masculinity in emotional suppression. For generations, men have been told that showing their emotions is a sign of weakness. And as a result, we've learned to suppress our feelings. We've bottled up this anger, this sadness, this fear, this frustration that we face. And this emotional suppression, it doesn't make these feelings go away. Unfortunately, it magnifies them. And these suppressed emotions oftentimes resurface as burnout or depression or physical health problems, because there's a mind and body connection there. And then this disconnection from our true masculinity can be seen in many men displaying burnout or frustration. Without a healthy outlet for our emotions or a clear sense of purpose, we often experience burnout, feeling trapped in an unfulfilled job or a strained relationship or in routines that give us no joy or allow us to grow. And that burnout leads to frustration. This sense of being stuck in this life that does not align with our true potential. So what is masculinity really all about? So we've determined it's not about dominance, it's not about submission, but it's more about balance. True masculinity is a harmony of strength and vulnerability. It's a harmony of logic and intuition, and it's a place where purpose and passion intersect. And it gives us this feeling of strength as opposed to this always feeling vulnerable, because real strength is not about suppressing our emotions, but it's about being strong enough to confront them. And this feeling of vulnerability is not a weakness, as many have been led to believe, but it's a courageous act of being real, being authentic. The strength and vulnerability work together to form a true masculinity. Our logic and our intuition work together. Masculinity thrives in a balance between reason and instinct. Our logic provides this structure, while intuition allows us to connect with our inner truths. And then we see this connection in purpose and passion. If you're truly connected to your purpose, then you're unstoppable. But purpose is incomplete without passion. Passion is that drive that fuels your creativity. It fuels your love. It fuels your joy. And so, what do we need to do to reclaim this authentic masculinity? Well, it's going to require breaking free from some of these negative trances and this societal conditioning that we've been programmed with, and redefining masculinity on our own terms. And the thing is, it's not an easy journey, but it's one worth taking. The first step is identifying these negative trances that we've been in this societal conditioning, and rejecting all of these narratives that have kept us stuck, and it requires us to have this self-awareness, this willingness to question some long-held beliefs that we've had, that we've been taught, that we've been programmed with. So we need to ask ourselves some questions. Well, the first question we need to ask is, what does masculinity mean to me? And then we need to stop and ask ourselves, well, where did I learn my ideas about masculinity? And then the question, are these ideas serving me, or are they actually holding me back? Am I stuck because of these ideas? And breaking free from these negative trances and this societal conditioning means that we're rejecting this notion that masculinity is just one-dimensional. It's about creating a definition that aligns with our values, our aspirations, not someone else's expectations. And then it allows us to heal some emotional wounds. Because, let's be honest, man, we often carry around unresolved emotional wounds, many from childhood or from past relationships or societal rejection. And these wounds tend to show up often as a form of anger or fear or insecurity. And healing these emotional wounds is essential for reclaiming our authentic masculinity. We learn to acknowledge the pain, because suppressing it only gives it more power over you. It only allows you to remain stuck. So we need to acknowledge this pain, and then seek out tools and support that can help. Therapy, hypnosis, mindfulness breathing exercises, other healing modalities and practices, tapping techniques, eye movement, reprocessing modalities can help us to reprocess and release this hold that some of these wounds have on us. And then learning a form of emotional regulation. Now, that doesn't mean suppressing our emotions like we've been doing, but it means to learn how to understand and respond in healthy ways. Emotional healing isn't a sign of weakness, but it's a foundation for true strength and resilience. And then learn to define masculinity in your own terms. See, true masculinity is deeply personal. It's not about fitting into a mold that society has told you need to fit in, but it's about aligning with your values, your strengths, your desires, and then taking time to reflect on your values. What principles guide you in your life? What does it mean to be authentic? What is integrity to you? What are you passionate about? How can you show compassion? And so you reflect on your values. What's most important to you? What's leading you? What's guiding you? And then when you reflect on those values and really take some time to do that, then you set your own standards. What does being strong look like to you? What does being a balanced man look like to you? And then as you set these standards, you learn to embrace your individuality. You don't need to fit into society's labels. You have the power to define your identity. And by defining this masculinity on your own terms, you begin to gain clarity and confidence in who you are and what you stand for. And then you begin to commit to a deeper inner work, because this transformation is not going to happen overnight. It requires some dedication to self-awareness, to growth, to continuous improvement. This developing this self-awareness by journaling, by mindfulness exercises, by meditation, can help you uncover some of these hidden patterns and beliefs that's been holding you back. And when you uncover them, you can begin to challenge these limiting beliefs, whether they've been placed on you by yourself or by other people. What stories have you been telling yourself about your worth, your potential, your identity? And then you'll find that it's easier to invest in personal growth. You'll begin to read books to help you grow. You'll attend workshops. You'll take classes. You'll listen to podcasts that are helping you. You'll find a mentor and engage in mentorship opportunities, so that you're not only being mentored, but you're also mentoring others as you learn, because it's an excellent way to teach these things that you're learning. And by doing this, you'll expand your understanding of yourself and the world around you. And this deep inner work is challenging. It requires effort. That's why most men are not doing it. But I promise you that ultimately it's a liberating experience. When you learn who you truly are, and then you realize you don't have to fit into the mold that society has set for you. You can get rid of these old identities, and you can step into your true, authentic power. And when we begin to do this, it allows us to really build meaningful relationships. You see, healthy masculinity thrives in connection, not isolation. That lone wolf mentality is not how we're designed. We're not created for that. We're created to be a social being. And healthy masculinity thrives in those connections. And it allows us to build meaningful relationships. And building meaningful relationships requires vulnerability. It requires communication. It requires mutual respect. And by doing this, it allows us to cultivate authenticity. We can show up as our true selves in our relationships. We can learn to listen, because relationships are about understanding, not just being understood. We set healthy boundaries, because all good relationships require clear boundaries and mutual respect. So whether it's in a romantic setting or in family dynamics or in professional and work relationships, connection is where masculinity finds its greatest expression. So what's beyond this crisis of true masculinity that we're facing? What lies beyond? What hope is there? Well, I think that reclaiming a true masculinity is not about perfection, but it's about authenticity. It's about finding the courage to face our fears, to the strength to pursue our true purpose, and the vulnerability to actually connect with others. So on the other side of this crisis lies freedom. Freedom from societal conditioning, negative trances, and limiting beliefs. The other side of this crisis, there's authenticity. There is a life lived in alignment with our true values and purpose. And beyond this crisis, I see hope for power. Not power over others, not a controlling, dominant power, but an inner power for us to create, to connect, to thrive. Because when we men embrace our authentic masculinity, we become leaders first in our own lives. And we find clarity in our purpose and this strength in our vulnerability and our fulfillment in the relationships that we're cultivating. This crisis is not a weakness, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us men to break free from those negative trances, those false narratives, those societal constrictions, and begin to heal our wounds and redefine our roles in this modern world. You know, if this resonates with you, it's time to take some action. It doesn't have to be a big action to start with. You can start by just reflecting on your own journey. What does true masculinity mean to you? What changes can you make to align with your true self? This path to reclaiming our masculinity is challenging, but it's really rewarding. It's on a deep level. It's a journey of transformation. It's true empowerment and fulfillment. So ask yourself, are you ready to take this first step? And let's begin to redefine masculinity together.